Good evening and welcome to the Amenities Committee of Bexhill Town Council, being held tonight, Wednesday the 6th of November. There is some words at the beginning of the agenda which I won't read, bar to remind people to turn off their mobile phones, because mobile phones do affect the recording equipment. At the very least, to place your phone on airplane mode. Thank you. Okay, lovely to see members of the public here tonight. You're within item 2 under public participation. So first thing is to deal with item 1, which is we now have a vacancy within this committee to appoint a vice chairman. Chair. Do we have any nominations to be vice chair to the Amenities Committee? That's a promising start.
If no one else is going to, I will do.
It isn't really essential. It doesn't say anywhere that we have to have a vice chair. It's just historical that every committee's had a vice chair. So if this committee feels it's necessary to have a vice chair, we have one volunteer to be vice chair.
I volunteer as well if we're actually going to have one.
Okay, so the first thing is, do we want to have a vice chair? All those in favour of having a vice chair, please show your hands. Right, we're having a vice chair. So we've got 2 people volunteering to be vice chair.
I was only putting myself forward because no one else was. And if someone else is putting themselves forward, I will step down.
You're withdrawing.
That was the way I'd read it.
Councillor Byrne, are you happy to...
Need a second.
I am happy, Chair.
You need a seconder for that. We've got 3 seconders. So all those in favour of accepting Councillor Byrne as vice chair of the Amenities Committee, please raise your hand. Carried unanimously.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Congratulations, Councillor Byrne. Item 2, public participation. So I don't intend to read all of the words there. They are on the agenda, which is in the public area, but in short, anybody who wishes to speak has 3 minutes, and it should only relate to an item within this agenda. Is there anybody in the public area who wishes to speak? Please raise your hand. No one wishing to speak. Excellent. I'll move on to item 3. Apologies for absence. I'll ask the clerk whether we have any apologies for absence.
Councillor Ruston has a family matter.
Okay, thank you. Item 4, to receive declarations of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interest. Councillor Byrne.
Member of Rother District Council.
Okay. Any other declarations? No, thank you. Item 5, chair's announcements. I have none. This is going very quick and speedily, isn't it? Item 6, minutes, to approve the minutes of the meeting on Wednesday, the 4th of September 2024, which have been circulated. I need a nominator and a seconder for these minutes to be accepted. Councillor Goss and Councillor Coon. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll go a little quiet while I sign away. It's initialled and signed. Thank you. Item 7. To consider requests from Rother District Council for the Town Council to own and manage new development facilities with a Section 106 agreement, which was Appendix B. You all had that?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a decision that we've been asked to make in this committee as to whether we want to initially... It's an agreement in principle. So, anybody would like to start the debate on this? Councillor Goss.
It's very vague. There's very little information there. Need more detail to make any decision. We don't know what this Section 106 contribution is going to be or who's going to get it. It doesn't say what the developer is providing. Is he going to provide all the facilities, pitches and all that sort of thing? And what exactly is sort of going to happen with the whole thing? Is there any income from it?
So if I perhaps give a little bit of background to it, and I might ask our clerk to throw few more bits of information in there, but this is a development for 3 small areas not far from where I reside, which the building hasn't even started. This is a agreement in principle. You're not being committed to anything. You won't get any details as such as to how many bits of play equipment there are, how much grass area there is. This is just a case of, it's a standard procedure for any development now that the district council would ask the local council whether they wish to take on the responsibility of managing it. Potentially, it can be a it may not cost anything because residents end up having to pay for it. We are just managing it. If we choose not to, then that's fine. The district council will then go away and find somebody else to do it, and then the residents that live there will end up paying them to do it. I have personal experience of this. When I lived on the new development, it was exactly the same as a Section 106, and there was an independent company that came in and did it. And I have to say, there is no support for the residents as such through that route, because they could be anywhere. They could be in Scotland, Wales, Ireland, and they're normally large companies that come in, and you can't get anything done to change it. So, but you won't get any more details right now because this is at the very early stages of, there's not a spade in the ground yet. Planning hasn't actually been affirmed. So this is just an agreement in principle as to whether the town council want to get involved in it. Does that help paint the picture a little bit?
Can it be an expression of interest?
Yes.
Rather than a principle? Yes, in principle we would.
We're not
there is
committing
an
to
awful lot
anything.
to
It's
come
just
out.
a case that we have to be the first port of call that the district council go to. And if we want to be interested in it, then we can say, yes, we'd like to be interested. And then when more information becomes available, then you can start making decisions over whether you really want to.
Presumably by then, who knows what's happening with parks and gardens and things like that. That's form part of it. So.
Yeah, that's great. Councillor Byrne.
Thanks, Chair. Just to underline, as you say, we're being asked to consider managing the newly developed facilities. We're not being asked to design them or pay for their.
That's correct.
However, if down the road we are, as a council, going to take on, or we're considering taking on responsibility of any other parks and gardens type facilities, I think having more things in our portfolio will get us a better deal from any maintenance company than if we do it piecemeal. And I think with our residents in mind, as you have said, Chair, our residents would get a far better service if we were in control of, even if we then farm it out to someone, but it will be under our control. The service level agreements will be set by us. So all in all, I think the expression of interest is a good idea. And as Councillor Goss says, hopefully before we make any decision, we'll get a lot more meat on the bone of this. But in general, I'd really support an expression of interest from us on grounds of economy of scale further down the track.
Okay. Councillor Byrne.
Yeah, I'm in favour of exploring this, but I hope that the district council also explore it from their own side so we can compare. Because the underlying issue here would be, what is the cost to the ratepayer of Bexhill? Could it be cheaper for Rother District Council to undertake this? Could it be cheaper for us to undertake it? Or could it be cheaper for a private company to undertake it? I think the 3 options need to be explored, and this could be the start of that process. What does surprise me is the wording that Rother have given us is that it says, if the town council is not interested, the responsibility would be given to a private management company.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yes.
I find that shocking.
Rother are not part of the equation. They are not in the business of
through the
managing
chair,
those.
that is the correct process that happens for all new developments.
Yeah, I find it quite shocking that it's given. Now, I'm led to believe there is a similar situation arose in another plot of recently developed land, and the individuals there are having to pay service charges for that particular amenity to be maintained by a private company.
It's normal
And
now.
it is a considerable amount of money they are paying out. And so I think it would be good to explore our involvement and our interest, but at the same time I think we need to look at the other aspects as well and make a comparison.
So just to be clear, rather on making a decision, it's under the section 106 rules and regulations, which is in law, that they go to the lower element of the council to give them the offer. If not, they choose a contractor to do it. Rather will not be involved in it. The contractor that they then choose would have the private individual agreements with each resident that lives on that development. That's it. There's no other decision to be made. It's, do we want to be involved? Yes or no. If not, that's what will happen. That's the process. We're not able to change a point of law because we consider it unreasonable. That is what it is. So
That's fine.
The decision for tonight is, do we want to give an expression of interest? And it's a binary question, which is yes or no.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to have any other discussion? Otherwise, I'm just going to put it to a vote because it is a binary decision. It's a yes or no. Do we want to express an interest for an agreement in principle to take on the facilities on these 3 developments that are coming up? If you could show by hands all those in favour of agreeing in principle. That's carried unanimously. Item 8 is headed public conveniences. The tenders are being sought for the Devonshire Square toilet refit following the meeting where we decided that we were going to go and get costumes, so that's in hand. Item 9, CCTV. To note the grant's been received towards the cost of the maintenance, which is good news. That was promised when we took the CCTV on way back when. 9B, to note additional cameras are being investigated. I think our clerk has a meeting next week, is it?
A week after.
Week after. So that's progressing. That's when we'll get the advice as to how many are needed extra, how much it's likely to cost and where they're best suited. So that's informational. 9C, to consider when the committee will implement the motion that was passed relating to CCTV and reviewing what is already there. So that's for the committee, us tonight, to decide when we wish that motion to be implemented. Now, that's quite tricky because there's obviously a lot of work in programme. I believe initially it said during the 3-year period, but what time within that 3-year period? So I'd like some offers, and then we'll ask whether, all those suggestions as to when people want it done, and then we'll discuss with our clerk as to whether she would be able to fit that in within the timescale. Councillor Clem.
I would have thought the best option was to be to ask the clerk when she feels it would be possible to fit it into the work programme already planned, rather than us come up with random dates.
When would you be able to fit it in?
Yeah, so if we get... Shall we get May over with? So let's get this, because we've got remembrance, Christmas lights, we've got annual town meeting, then we've got mayor making. So maybe if we do that and establish ourselves for the next municipal year, maybe I could start looking at it in April, and then we'll start to plan it all out. Does that sound okay?
It was within 3 years, so that's within sort of 7 or 8 months. So we're within that time scale. Councillor Byrne.
I would have thought the initial steps, but I agree with what Clark says about the timetable, but the initial steps, when it says to carry out a review of the next 3 years with collaboration with, to ask the police and the PCSOs what level of information, are they going to present us with their findings of a review, or are they just going to present us with some minimal information and we're going to have to do the whole review? Before we need to size that lump of work, and it depends on what we're going to be presented with from our other partners in that review. So maybe just a letter out to those other partners, the Sussex Police, the PCSO and the local Chamber of Commerce and Bragg, to say, what would your input be? What would you intend to present us with?
A warming up to say that
hopefully the police would say we've already got this and this information.
Okay.
And maybe the Chamber of Trade might even kick in some money.
Okay. So is that possible to put that sort of a couple of months?
But I agree with the clerk's view of the timescale. Okay. It's all, we don't want to stack up too many things.
Okay.
Try and do too much at once.
No, I'll just put down that we'll revisit this in May, June. I'll start to look at it in April.
Yeah.
And ready for us to actually make some decisions.
I think a letter could go out before that, so they can start looking as well. Certainly the police.
Okay, happy with that, everyone? Say now, otherwise I shall move on. I'm moving on. Item 10, Town Accessibility Working Group, to appoint a third member to the Town Accessibility Working Group. So we only have 2 members now that are sitting on that group, which is Councillor Winter and Councillor Crotty. The third one was Councillor Brailsford, who's resigned, so we need another member to go on there. We have to bear in mind that Town Accessibility Group hasn't yet met, and it's been in place for 3 years. And if we can't find another one, then that will be removed from future agendas. Is there anybody wishing to stand on that working group? Okay, I'm going to surprise people and say that I would be prepared to do that, because having had the experience of walking around with sticks and things for the last 3 weeks, it's quite an experience. So I think I might be able to, whether I can create any interest or not, but there are other things going on with accessibility in the town. It would be good to link into that. So I would like to put myself forward to go on the Town Accessibility Working Group. I won't promise that we can actually meet, because I need the other members to turn up as well. But hopefully, with other things that are going on, there may be a bit more incentive to meet and see what we can do.
I'd be happy to second your appointment if you're putting it to the vote.
Okay. I was going to ask whether anybody else wanted to do it, because if nobody else wants to, then it's a straightforward, yes, you can do it.
Just need a seconder of the vote.
Seconder to that then, Councillor Byrne. Everybody is seconding it. Okay. Item 11, Bets.
Sorry, Chair, can I just, on the subject of Town Accessibility Working Group, I met up with a couple of the district councillors on Monday, and they did a very brief tour of the town centre, looking at the accessibility for people in mobility scooters and such like. And I had the good fortune to have with me the map that our staff had produced, detailing where the drop curbs were and things. And the people were absolutely delighted with that information that was produced by our staff. And a lot of them were sort of going to pass that on to colleagues that have got similar issues regarding mobility. And I hope that the footfall into the town office will be a little bit more looking at these maps. It's a wonderful piece of work, and if any one of you want to have a look at it, I suggest you go into the town council office there and pick up a copy of the accessibility map.
Might be really something the working group might want to think about advertising that a little bit better. If the people that turned up on Monday who were interested in that weren't aware of it, that's not that great, so we need to think about how we spread that word. So, okay. Item 11, Bexhill Wild Doomsday Project. So 11A is to note directorship of Coombe Valley Countryside CIC is pending, and to appoint a councillor to join that board. So this goes back that we can make the arrangements that one of this committee can join the Coombe Valley Countryside CIC if we've decided we want to have somebody on there, so it's choosing who goes. Councillor Byrne.
Chair, are we only looking at members of this committee to be appointed, or is this something that could be put to all members of the council? The same with the previous one, really. When it says to appoint, do we only appoint from within the committee?
So my understanding is you appoint from within the committee. If you can't find somebody to do it within the committee, then you go to full council to spread it further. That's what happened with the Town Accessibility Working Group, because Councillor Winter, who's on that, isn't on this committee, so he was appointed from full council. So if we can't find anybody from this committee first, then we go to full council.
Right, I would suggest going to full council.
Just to point out that we've got a vacancy on this committee.
Yep.
We've also got a vacancy on a complement of councillors as well. So it would be quite sort of wise to actually leave the vacancy in this committee, because the new incoming councillor may come onto this committee and may wish to take this up. So it might be worth it just rolling it over to our next meeting.
Next meeting's on the 8th of January, so it's not that far away. Is there any urgency for us to give them a name? No. Okay. we'll carry that one forward until we get a full complement then. If everyone's happy with that? No one's saying not, so that's good. And to receive the project report from David Dennis, and David Dennis has asked 11B1 that the Town Clerk could formally point out to Rother District Council that Bexhill-on-Sea Town Council can ensure that future leaky dam work on the project will be conducted responsibly, because it must be signed off by the Environment Agency following a report to them by the South East Rivers Trust. I'm unclear as to what we need to do with this particular point. He's obviously David Dennis is obviously asking to be right to Rother District Council. Is that what he's asking?
He's asking us to tell them to be responsible. It says that we should make sure that when they do the future legal dam work on the project, that they should conduct that work responsibly. So I think he's telling us to tell them to be responsible.
I think that's a very dangerous thing for us to get involved in, as one council telling another one to be responsible.
Yeah, I've got it slightly differently from his report somewhere. I didn't like where it was.
It is a very complicated report to read.
I think it's because RDC sort of turned him down, wasn't it?
Councillor Flynn.
Whilst I agree that it would be probably unwelcome for one council to tell another council how to behave, I think it's a concern that we may have to highlight that we would like them looking into. I think there's probably some diplomatic language needed there rather than what I've just said. But I think it's a concern that a professional person that we've employed to look after, sort of, to note the nature within Bexhill has raised this, and I think to ignore that concern he's raised there, I think would be wrong. But I think we definitely should need to pass it on some way or other to Rother District Council.
I think we need to be a bit careful with the wording. I mean, the way he's got it here, the Town Council can ensure that the work will be conducted responsibly. As though we're ensuring it. We don't have anybody, we are ourselves not qualified to do that.
Mm-hmm. I think, reading it quickly again, I think he's trying to cross all the T's and dot all the I's to make sure that it is done in accordance with what South East Rivers Trust want it to be done in the Environment Agency. Well, whoever gets involved in it, they're authorised and they're controlled by certain rules and regulations. It isn't anything to do with the Town Council, as I see it. And I don't know. Councillor Byrne.
Reading this, I'm not too sure. It says, because it must be signed off by the Environment Agency. Now, if that is it will be signed off by, the sign-off authority rests with the Environmental Agency, then that's where the responsibility rests and we don't need to get involved. Correct. If he's saying, in order for it to be done to his satisfaction or the project's satisfaction, the Environmental Agency must be involved, that implies they're not already. So it's a bit woolly as to which he's asking for. If he's saying the Environmental Agency are already involved and they are the arbiters of the work being done responsibly, we don't need to be involved. Or is he asking for us to put pressure on Rother to say, involve the Environmental Agency? Any offers on that interpretation?
My opinion is it's too cloudy to say yes or no as to what he's actually asking.
I'm with you there.
And I would like to suggest that we ask our clerk to go back to David Dennis and put it in plain English as to what he actually wants to do.
Knowing Mr Dennis, it might be a forcing bid to involve the Environmental Agency, and in which case I think it would be a very good idea for the Environment Agency to be involved.
Alternatively, we invite him to the meeting on the 8th of January to get him to explain it to us.
Yes. Excellent.
Or you could just ask Rother District Council for clarification on the subject.
I don't think it's come to them.
It's not them.
Well,
At all.
We will find out from them then.
It's too woolly and cloudy for me to know what he's actually asking for.
Yeah.
So I believe that the only way is to either ask him and get some more words, or invite him to the next meeting. Because it's not clear in here whether it's the Environment Agency.
At the moment, it'll involve Groundworks South, won't it?
Yes.
And if they're working to environmental agency specifications, then it's fine. But if they're not, and David's saying they ought to, we can force that. But I don't think RDC are really going to be involved.
I'm getting the feeling there's a lot of confusion between the five as to what this actually means.
Yep.
So I would like to, as chair, propose that we put a motion to invite David Dennis to the 8th of January and give him an opportunity to explain what that means to us, and then we'll consider the request then.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favour? Thank you. Item 12, environmental issues, matters, sorry, I don't know why I said issue. To note, welcome to Bexhill signs installed. 12B, to note, smaller welcome to Bexhill sign in Normans Bay not able to be installed as there is no suitable safe area for installation. Now you will have seen an email today, so I'm not proposing to do anything about it because it has been checked out and Highways have said there is no suitable place for it to be installed. The suggestions from the Town Councillor for that area
They say no, it's no.
has said some other suggestions. Highways have said no, so if we go back to Highways and say, can you then investigate these other options, they've already said no, so we're just repeating the work we've already done.
I think Nigel's email sort of finished up agreeing with that. There wasn't any option.
Sort of. So I don't see there's any other work to be done on it personally, unless anybody else has any other opinions. No one's raising their hand. Shall I move on? Good, thank you. Item 13, bus stops. 13A, B stops. To receive an update from Lord Brett McLean. If you remember, we said that we would support it, and it's for him to come back. And could you update us, Julie, as to where we are?
Yeah, so his last message was that he's having a meeting with Stagecoach, the bus company, because they were looking at funding it or doing something to help him. So we're just waiting to see what the outcome of his meeting is with Stagecoach.
Okay.
Have we got a timescale for that?
No.
Can we minute it?
So I would propose that that's noted, and it's not on a future agenda until such time as Lord Brett McLean comes back to us, and then we can put it back on the agenda. Because it's with him to do some more work, otherwise we're just going to leave it on an agenda forever. 13B, to note, Endwell Road bus shelter repairs are due week commencing 7th, so that's good news. To review Wave Art's design for Ninfield Road bus stop. I must call them bus shelters because they're not bus stops now, they're shelters. Outside Lidl. Have you all reviewed it?
Saw the photograph.
Yeah, that's it. So that's a suggestion that Wave Arts think would look right in where it is, and it's for, if you remember when we agreed to do that, it was to be agreed but for us to see the design before they did it. So that's our opportunity to go yes or no whether we like it or not. I've asked some questions about it, and it can't be tweaked. That design is what that design is. So it's again a binary decision whether we do it yes or no.
How do they do it? Is it painted on? Is it a sticker?
It's painted.
It's painted.
Yeah.
So, but they can't adjust it. I mean, it looked a little bold and maybe not in sort of thing, but that's subjective to me. I mean,
yeah. The interesting thing is where this bus shelter is. There is a bit of a directional within Sidley itself to take art into Sidley with the Sidley hub and the relationship that's being built with the Delaware Pavilion. So various other organisations are trying to take art in there. If somebody had said to me 2 years ago to use that design, I might have been a little bit, but we asked them to do a design. They've come up with a design that they think is best suited, and it's just for us to go, yes. If it's a no, then there isn't another design that they've chosen, and they are the experts in this type of thing. So, anybody else want to speak about it? Otherwise, it's a yes or no. Okay, we'll go to a vote. All those in favour of accepting the design that Wave Arts have provided, please show your hands. 3. All those against? All those abstaining? So that's passed. To note repairs underway for the shelter outside the new inn, and to note we're seeking quotes for repainting of the shelter outside Manor Barn, which is somewhat covered in stuff that we don't want to see. Councillor Prim.
Can I be reassured that it will not be in the same sort of designs that Wave Art had produced for, bearing in mind the historic value of that particular shelter?
I believe it's just repainting. The same colour.
What's happened is paint and there's graffiti all over the paintwork and some of the glass is missing. So we'd like to rub it down and repaint it. I appreciate it's going to get graffiti, but if we keep on top of it, I think it'll be better. Yeah. So we'd like to speak to Men's Shed to see if there's something that they might be able to help us with. It'll be all in keeping with exactly as it looks now.
Brilliant. And I think that's really important, that wherever the bus shelters are, they're different for different areas within Bexhill, and that's about retaining the fabric of the town. Okay, I'll move on to item 14, Highways Matter, to note that the SR meeting has been booked in for the 21st of January, that is 25. So it's a little way in advance, but at least we've got a date in the diary.
And a date, do we know anything about where or
It'll be in our hub.
in our hub? Okay. That's fine.
It might be worth having a meeting, the three, well, Councillor Pym, Councillor Goss and Clark before that, just to... So 14B, to note, no further update on the grit bin. It's still discussions going on over where it's best suited to be situated. Item 15, allotment sites. Fencing has been started. I can confirm it, I've driven past it tonight. The gate is in and some of the fencing is in, and it has taken a while, but it is there. So that's good news, because the tenants there have been waiting for that for some time, so it's really positive that that's now underway. 15B, to note we believe we may be able to create another 12 vacant plots at Preston Road, and that's going to be planned for next year, but it won't be 12 all in one go, because if you prepare 12 all in one go and you don't find 12 tenants, then you'd have to prepare it again, because Councillor Byrne.
Who does the preparation?
I believe that's the Pelham, isn't it?
Yeah.
And at a cost to us? Or?
Yes. Yeah.
Right, and the cost is?
I don't know how much it is per site. Do you know how much?
I don't have that in front of me.
And they're the only game in town. There's no volunteers want to prepare them?
We haven't gone out to tender. The Pelham's always been the sort of go-to.
We have gone out to
tender.
So we have been out, sorry Chair, we've been out to tender. The Pelham won the contract to work on Preston Road allotments, and they work jointly with us and with Dragonfly's nursery in developing the top end.
Okay.
And so what they do is they charge us per plot as they do it as per our contract. I don't have the contract in front of me, but we can report it back to the next meeting if you need to.
So we've gone out to tender and they were the cheapest per plot, were they?
And all of the previous payments on the plots are in all of the finance details. So if you look at the finance agenda, you'll see where we've paid for plots before.
Right. Fine, thank you.
Okay, so that's good news that we're making use of the allotments.
Yeah.
Item 16 is Finance and Administration, to note the budget, which is quite clear.
There we go, yes.
Relatively clear. All the rents have been paid for this year.
Yep.
Yay!
Yeah.
And that, I have to say, for a lot of councils is quite unusual. So that's a real positive. The water is slightly less than what we thought it was going to be. Don't worry too much about the money side around the maintenance and stuff like that, because it's all to do with SIL funds coming in and out of the reserve account. So where it says it's 702% on the right hand side, it really isn't. It's because of large numbers coming out of reserves and going into the budget and coming back out again. Underneath is the amenities, which is what we've got set aside. So the verge cutting has already been paid for. The Doomsday project, we pay that monthly. Bexhill Boom has been paid out. Grit bins is sitting there because we're waiting for that. Future projects, that is, what is the future? That's where the bus stop money is coming from. Councillor Byrne.
Do we know what the deliverables are from the Doomsday project? What are we getting?
It is on the website. There's a whole plan that David Dennis put forward to.
Yeah, I've read the plan. I
previous
mean, I
administration.
just wondered what we were actually getting.
We get a monthly report, we get lots of information, and he's committed to getting various grants to start to make things happen. He's set up a nature club, which is about protecting the local fauna. And
So this expenditure is mainly the administration of the project rather than its deliverables.
he's under a contractor, which we've
Yeah.
extended for a third year.
Right.
And within that contract, which is on the website, it says what he's got to deliver.
Right.
Which at the moment he is doing what he said he would do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay. Any questions on finance? So, okay, we'll move on to item 17, which is rather strange because it's a motion from Councillor Drayson, who is not a member of this committee. So the only way that this can progress is if a member of this committee puts this forward as a motion and finds a seconder for it. So is there a member of this committee that wishes to, if you like, take over this motion and put it forward under their name rather than under Councillor Drayson's name, because standing orders say that you can only put something to a full council because, or it's a committee that you're within. If that makes sense. Councillor Clinton.
Yes, so I'm going to take this motion forward, but before I do so, and I have spoken to Councillor Drayson about this, I'm going to ask to amend the motion because it's unilateral. It deals with one particular toilet, and I can see the urgency needed there, but there are toilets all over the town that there's urgency to be dealt with. And so my amendment would be for the motion to read as such: as a matter of urgency, inform Rother District Council of its desire to obtain a freehold of the currently closed public toilets, full stop, by utilising Rother District Council's asset disposal policy. The asset disposal policy, for those of you that don't know, was just passed on Monday, and it gives Rother District Council the mechanics to dispose of assets within its portfolio. And one aspect of that toolkit amongst them is to look through the process of passing assets on to town councils with freehold abilities on there.
But just to confirm, it hasn't been agreed. It went to Cabinet. It goes to full council in December and will be introduced in February.
Okay.
Councillor Huss.
Could I just ask on that, is when you're saying disposing assets, would that be to be bought by someone else or given?
It depends which person they're talking to and which route they go down. It's a multifaceted policy that can be utilised in various different ways, and the toolkit is there, and they've got a committee that will be attached to it to scrutinise in various aspects of the financial. I've got the details here actually.
So would you say there's options within that policy where assets can be passed down to town council rather than sold to the town council?
They could be.
Okay.
The asset disposal matrix, which is part of the tool they will use, will look at the social impact, economic impact, environmental impact, cultural impact, and health and well-being. It will be us under negotiation to push the aspects of that we consider more beneficial to our residents, and hopefully discuss with Rother District Council the freeholds and have a mutually agreeable sort of cost associated with them. All this comes under section 123 of the Local Government Act 74, and it's a tool that wasn't there before, that is there now, that we should really utilise along with the other parishes around the district, which was made evident at the meeting on Monday. And I take your point, Chair. Yes, it was Cabinet that agreed it.
Yeah.
It is highly unlikely that full council will knock this back from Cabinet.
It's just important to know that it hasn't been agreed.
Yeah.
No,
But
it's-
in the process that we think in the aspect that we think it will be agreed, I think we should start the ball rolling.
It's
What better place
been
than to
looked
start
at
it?
by overview and scrutiny, passed up to Cabinet, Cabinet will pass it to the council in its present form.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Councillor Flynn? So if I can make a couple of observations, I think this is a real step in the right direction, this PPDP process that they have. And there's been two significant changes since I've been around this town council. One is that there is now an asset manager that's been appointed at Rother District Council. Without an asset manager, none of this would have been able to happen. And without this process, there was never a process in place as to how to deal with assets. That said, it's my understanding that the town council already have first refusal on every single toilet within Bexhill. So by putting a motion through this council, we're just confirming what has already been confirmed, which I've come back to via the leaders' minutes, that states that we will be given first refusal for any of them. So we already got that. So really this motion is just replicating what's already in the leaders. That's a slightly different take on it. But I think it's a really positive thing for residents within Bexhill because it gives great flexibility on the district council and the town council to make some right decisions. Councillor Brennan.
Yeah, the only difference is it's highlighting the policy that we can actually utilise, whereas beforehand that policy wasn't there. So that will be the difference.
Yeah. At the moment, nothing's really changed other than they have a framework to talk about it now.
Yeah. So I need a seconder for that motion.
Seconded. If you want, Charlie.
All those in favour of 17A1 as a motion,
As amended.
as amended, which deletes a little comment at the end of it
And adds.
and adds by utilising the asset disposal process.
Yeah.
Have you got that amendment? All those in favour of that, please show. That's carried unanimously. So, item 17A2, are you taking that, Councillor Plym, as well?
Yes.
Would you like to talk us through that, please?
Very little to say about this other than what the motion says. Once the valuation is available, we enter into negotiations with Rother District Council with a view to obtaining the said freehold. Again, it's something that we'd already passed a couple of years ago, but it's using this process and reinvigorating our intent. And to be honest with you, it ties in with the item that we spoke of earlier on regarding the land under the S106 agreement. It reinforces and starts to build on a vision of this council going forward, which is what we should be looking towards.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that?
And would that be the said freeholds with an S on the end on the second one?
Yes. Freeholds, yes, quite right. Yeah. Yeah.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Huss. Can I just say, this might sound a bit ridiculous, but if we've passed 17A1, you wouldn't be able to obtain the freehold without 17A2. So what's the point of putting that motion forward as 17A2? Because that would automatically flow on if you're taking the freehold. You would have to negotiate through that process. So I think, is that not unnecessary?
It's part of it, yeah.
Because you're taking the freehold under 17A1, which has been passed unanimously.
A1 as amended is
As amended,
enough in itself.
Because you have
Perfect and beautifully formed
Councillor Plym.
by Councillor Plym.
Well, I just say it just makes things more transparent and lets people that haven't sort of been aware of what we've been doing as a town council refresh their mind and become more aware. So I'd rather like it to stay and push through. I don't think it's going to be harmful not to have it, not to pass it. It's just going to enhance things.
Oh,
Is it not stating the obvious? Otherwise, if we've got a proposal, we've got a second right.
I think it's stating the obvious.
Yeah.
Chair.
With your amendment, Councillor Plym, I think one is adequate.
Councillor Huss.
I would like to second Councillor Plym's motion and carry on with it because I think there's been a lot of speculation around the town council and how they feel about the toilets. And I believe that we're always looked at as we don't want them, we're not up for negotiating for them. We are very stuck in our own way with the freehold, but so am I. And I think it just makes it a lot more transparent, a lot clearer that we are here, we do want the toilets, we've never said no to them, we just want to be able to negotiate for them, and it's important that we actually state we'd like to enter negotiations in regards to the toilets, and it's just at one more level that won't hurt.
Okay. Well, we've got a proposal and a seconder. The other thing to think about is that that will cost money, and we're not putting anything in the budget for next year, so that won't happen until 26, 27, unless we raise some funds through other reserves.
Well, unless they want to power then
Maybe, yeah.
I'll put it in.
Yeah. So, as I said, we've got a proposer, we've got a seconder. All those in favour of 17A2 with one amendment, pluralising freehold. All raise your hand.
Yeah, why not?
Carried unanimously. I move on to item 18, to consider signing up to Wheeled to Waves project. Have you all had the opportunity to review that?
No.
Okay. I had the opportunity late today, and my observation was the furthest organisation east is Glynde. There is no other council involved on there who is involved in this organisation, and again it's to do with the fabric and fauna and nature within South East and creating areas that are protected. It is all West Sussex, as South Downs National Park, all the councils, excluding Brighton City Council, West Sussex, and the furthest east is Glynde. So we could be setting a trend by saying, yes, we would like to be involved, but is there any point in just the area that has 46,000 people living in without involving Eastbourne, Lewis, Wealdon, Hastings, etc.? Because then you're not creating a corridor, you're creating a standalone unit on the south coast.
Island, yeah.
Yeah. So it's up to us. It doesn't cost anything to sign up. It's just our stamp that we're involved in. Does that help give a bit of an overview?
So
Councillor
I
Pym.
missed it. Oh, sorry.
I think it's well worth us embarking on this and passing the actual details on to David Dennis to encompass in part of their Doomsday project as well.
He was on the email. He's been sent the email from Lindsay White.
Yeah.
And just to confirm, waves are not waves in the sea, as I originally thought. It's just the name of the organisation. So it's for us to consider whether we want to sign up to Wheeled to Waves project. So I need a proposer and a seconder to sign up to it.
I propose we sign up to it.
Proposed by Councillor Pym. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Byrne. All those in favour, please show your hands. Carried unanimously. 18B, to note the speed limit letter to the MP. So that's just for notation. And then there is a consultation on the Public Spaces Protection Order, which is Rother District Council's antisocial behaviour document that was issued. I don't know whether you had a chance to review it, but it looks pretty standard to us, or to me. It's for us whether we want to feed back to Rother District Council any information that we want to consider putting in there. Not forgetting that as a town council we will only be the same as one resident, so you would still be able to, if you haven't had the opportunity to read it, to feed back to Rother District Council, because it's a consultation stage as an individual anyway. Anybody wish to pass any comment on it, or wish to have anything fed back through the consultation process? Otherwise, if it's okay, I'm going to move on. No one's raising hands, that's good. I shall move on to 19, which is questions from councillors for future agenda items. So they were the questions that were asked, and there's answers in there as to answer the questions. Any further comments on those? My page is turning over. No hands went up. So any questions or future agenda items Anybody have any questions they wish to be added to this? Please raise your hand. If not, I shall move on to item 20, which is the date of the next meeting, which is the 8th of January 2025, and all motions should be submitted by the 29th December of this year. If there's nothing else to say, and that is a completion of the agenda, I now declare this meeting closed. Thank you for attending.